What's up everybody, Curtis and welcome back to another video. And once again we are fantasy booking, and once again it is a rumoured AEW debut. And spoiler alert, the reason I'm doing this now is because reports are that it is happening Sunday at All Out. The original plans were meant to be the big tennis arena they're running in New York, that big special episode of Dynamite. But due to COVID concerns and the show might in case the show gets cancelled or changed and moved venue and all this, they're just trying to push it up to All Out. So from that reason, it makes sense. So let's get into it. How would I book Bryan Danielson's AEW debut? But before I get into it, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I did kind of touch on this in my CM Punk fantasy booking preview. My original plans were a countdown to Best in the World starting at the Last Dance, leading into All Out. Then once that gets down to the last 10 seconds, the final countdown plays. Out comes Bryan Danielson and says, "Oh, were you expecting someone else?" Blah blah blah. And out comes Punk and Danielson face to face have a match. But of course, that's not going to happen because we all know CM Punk already debuted and that they're going with the Darby Allin route. But I'm going to keep it similar for Daniel Bryan, except minus the Best in the World countdown, because of course, CM Punk's there already. You're not teasing that. So how I would do it is kind of similar, where another debuting superstar comes out, but I'm switching roles. Instead of Bryan coming out and then getting interrupted, I'm going to switch it. I'm going to have Adam Cole, baby, come out. His contract is up. He is a free agent as of now, so he could realistically appear, and even as early as Dynamite. That is a very realistic possibility. I'd get his ROH music if possible. I know they had it all in for Britt Baker, but again, they were working with Ring of Honor for that show, so I don't know if Ring of Honor on that show. But if possible, I would get his Ring of Honor music, have him come out to that and say that he's here to make a name for himself, that he's Adam Cole, baby, and he has arrived and he has an open challenge for anyone in the back. And then the final countdown, please Tony, buy it just for one night, even just for the debut. But I'd love it if you got full time, but hopefully, even if it's just for the debut, to get the final countdown. Out comes Bryan Danielson. I'm also not against him using Rise of the Valkyrie that he used in the Wii. I believe that is public domain use, so they could realistically use it, and again, you already have that connection with Bryan as well. But personally, I'd love if they got the final countdown for Danielson back. But out comes the American Dragon, stares down Adam Cole and accepts the challenge, just says yes. And we get Bryan Danielson versus Adam Cole in a killer matchup. Probably have Danielson win, but would you want Cole losing in his debut? Probably not. But it's fantasy booking. So that's kind of how I do it at All Out. They'd have a killer matchup: Adam Cole, Bryan Danielson, two of the best wrestlers in the world. The American Dragon getting unleashed for the first time in years, and by that I mean we get the old aggressive ROH style Bryan Danielson, where just stomping on their heads while getting them in submission, just vicious. That kind of style of that Bryan Danielson. That is kind of how I'd book his debut at All Out. Going forward, then you could maybe do Brian and Punk, Bryan and Omega, Bryan Darby, Bryan Sammy, Bryan versus anybody. Adam Cole then is also involved in the picture. Cole Hangman, Cole the Elite, Cole Kenny, put them all together. That does leave the door open so from very fun, interesting stuff. And I like the surprise of having, and actually I like the surprise of having two people debut and coming out and facing off against each other. As I said, that's what I was hoping to do with Punk and Danielson. But so I like that idea of you get the big pop of Adam Cole's here, and then Bryan Danielson's here. Kind of giving the crowd a lot. And the reason I switch it, because originally I thought it was Punk answering Bryan's challenge. You get the swerve of the Best in the World countdown was actually for Danielson, but then also in Chicago you'd expect Punk to get the bigger reaction, and that is kind of why I'd switched roles here and have Cole be the One Nation to challenge for Bryan, and Bryan coming out and accepting. No offense to Adam Cole, I'm a big fan of Adam Cole. I love Adam Cole since I first started watching Ring of Honor like 2013, 2014, and he was like, but I feel like Bryan Danielson, of course, will be the bigger deal. So yeah, and also if they do get Adam Cole, very interested for the BT, I was forgetting what it's called, BTE skits where they bring him back from the dead. But yeah, I know I said in the earlier videos kind of fantasy booking Bryan Danielson, but now that I'm thinking of it, I might just call it fantasy booking Danielson and Adam Cole. But of course, this is getting towards the end of the video, you'd already know that. But yeah, as I said, exciting times in AEW. Punk just coming in, Danielson and Cole looking like they could be on the way in. And I know I mentioned why it looks like certain Bryan Danielson is, of course, Adam Cole could resign. But I read something earlier saying that WWE sent out an internal memo saying that he hasn't resigned, but of course the doors would be open if he did want to in the future. So maybe him to AEW isn't a done deal yet, and there could still be time for him to go with the WWE. But it's looking like AEW will be the final destination, or well, the next destination of Adam Cole. Of course, it would make sense, as I mentioned. Former member of the Bullet Club, has history with the Elite. Of course, his I'm not sure if they're married, but his girlfriend or his wife, Britt Baker, is in AEW, of course, the women's champion. So yeah, very interested to see what happens in AEW over the next coming weeks and months. Especially with all the big releases that we had recently. Of course, there's talks of Bray Wyatt and all coming in, so maybe I'll do a fantasy booking for Bray Wyatt in the future. If that doesn't happen if that doesn't happen anytime soon, but I don't think it will because of his release clause. I think that was not too long ago. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. Like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you think of this way of fantasy booking Bryan Danielson. Would you like to see more of this type of content? Subscribe, like, comment, and I'll see you in the next one.